Once we'd left the car, Officer Ryland took both of our hands and led us into the police station, which was not air-conditioned. As a result, a blanket of stifling heat fell on top of us as we entered, and I gasped. The officer spoke to the constable who sat behind the desk. She was a pretty woman, tall and very blonde. She gave us a small, almost sympathetic smile as Officer Ryland led us past the desk and down a long hallway, which was dotted with doors. He opened one of these doors and ushered us inside, and inside the room was a desk with 2 chairs. "Sit," he said, and we obeyed. "I'll be back in a few moments." He disappeared and left Aidan and I sitting alone in a very blank, almost desolate room. Neither of us said a word. I was lost in my thoughts, and Aidan appeared to be testing the effectiveness of saliva on removing grass stains. 5 minutes later, Officer Ryland returned. I was looking at my hands, which were knotted together in my lap, as he spoke. "So your school called an hour ago to report you missing. Do you have any idea how much you worried everyone?" We nodded miserably. "Your guardian's on their way to collect you both, and I warn you, they didn't sound very happy on the phone just now." My lip quivered, and I forced myself not to cry. I noticed Aidan was currently fighting the same battle. He appeared to be winning, for the most part. "Do you know what the penalty is for wandering around the city by yourselves?" said Officer Ryland. I chose that moment to look up and notice, for the first time, the object he'd carried into the room. It was around 30 centimeters long, 10 centimeters wide, and made from polished dark wood. It was currently resting against his leg, but he caught me looking and he lifted it up for easier viewing. I did know the penalty. Every little one knew the penalty, but my heart still fell when I saw the paddle up close. "All right, let's get this over with. Stand up, you two." I didn't mean to disobey him, but I was completely frozen with fear. All I could manage to do was sit there and open my mouth and close it repeatedly like a goldfish. Aidan was already on his feet, and he offered me a hand. I took it weakly and stood, shaking where I stood. The only 3 people to spank me in my life had been my birth mother, my daddy, and my nanny. I'd mostly been subjected to hand spankings in my life, with the occasional hairbrush and belt mixed in, and that was if I was really naughty. The paddle gleamed sharply. The wood had recently been oiled, and it only served as a reminder of the sharp pain I was soon to experience. "Aidan, you're first. Vanessa, go and stand in that corner over there." I continued to shiver as I complied with Officer Ryland's order. The sounds behind me were awful. I heard the creak of the chair as the officer sat down. I heard the muted ruffle of material as Aidan's jeans descended. I heard Aidan take his position over the policeman's knee, and all the while I heard his voice gently scolding Aidan for his silly misdeed. I heard Aidan sniffle, and I heard the slide of wood on wood as the officer picked up the paddle from the desk. And then, worst of all, I heard the loud smacks as my first nursery school friend took his paddling, and I heard sobs of what can only be described as pure anguish coming from Aidan. Surely this was illegal torture, forcing someone to listen to a friend be punished like this. It didn't matter that I'd only met him this morning. It was almost as bad as being over Officer Ryland's knee myself, listening to Aidan be punished like that. And then it occurred to me. Aidan was being punished because he followed me out that gate to find my daddy. He was being spanked because of me. I began to cry and rested my forehead on the wall. Gradually, the thuds subsided, and I heard Aidan straighten up. I heard Officer Ryland speaking to him in a low, comforting tone. Then I saw, out of the corner of my eye, Aidan waddling uncomfortably towards the corner on the right side of the room. His jeans were missing, and a thick white diaper covered his backside. The thing that drew my eye the most was the alarming shade of red which graced the entirety of his thighs. It was the colour of a rose, way beyond the pink that came with most of the hand spankings I'd experienced. I barely bit back a gasp. "Vanessa," the officer's voice spoke loudly over the crackling silence. "I'm here." I did as I was bid and slunk over to his side. You know how it works, little ones. Lift up your dress, take down your stockings. I gave a soft little noise that signified my fear, part moan, part sob, and kicked off my shoes. I wiggled out of my leggings and left them in a puddle on the floor. I then took a deep breath before I raised my skirt, revealing my favorite kind of heavily patterned diaper, and gazed at the officer. I stared hard at the paddle, trying my hardest to stop from recommencing my tears. "Okay, over we go," he murmured gently, and guided me down to rest over his knee, higher than I was used to. I then realized that it was so he had better access to my thighs. I wondered why we got spanked on the thighs and not the bottom, until I figured that officers couldn't afford to re-diaper littles that needed to be paddled, so I guess they just did it to the thighs. Oh, the wood was warm when I felt it rest on my thigh, and I took in a sharp breath. "You know why you're being spanked, don't you, young lady?" "Yes, sir," I said, squirming. It was a lecture that I hated the most about impending punishments, or at least until I actually started being hit. "Hmm? Why is that? Why are you about to be paddled?" Because I ran away from nursery school and I made everyone worry." Here, I gasped for air. "And because Hayden got punished, and it's all my fault. I was running away to try and find Daddy, and he followed me. I should have just told him to go back, and I didn't." And I started to cry again. "And it's all my fault." "Hey, it's okay. It's okay," Officer Ryland said as he started rubbing gentle circles on my back. "Hayden followed you. He's the one that made that decision, and he was punished for making it. It isn't your fault. Okay, Vanessa?" I sniffled. "Yes, good. I'm gonna spank you now, honey. I want you to be a good girl and take your paddling. I think you can understand?" "Yes, sir," I squeaked and shut my eyes tight. Absolutely nothing could have prepared me for how much that paddle stung. It was a weird type of pain. At first it stung, but when that passed, there was a pain that was much thicker, much deeper. It almost burned, and the additional strokes added to the fire that consumed my thighs. Officer Ryland had a very concise spanking style. He spanked quickly, very quickly, and went from one thigh to the other, one thigh to the other. Pretty soon, the fire had spread across both my thighs, and I'd broken down over his lap. I sobbed as he paddled me strongly and ceaselessly. "Please stop, please, I can't take any more," I begged plaintively. It hurts so bad." "I know it hurts," he said, still spanking. "It's to teach you to stay at nursery school where your daddy leaves you in the morning." I understand." Just then, I felt the battle nose in between my thighs. "Spread," he said directly. "What?" I said, my head whipping up. The officer gave me one extra hard stroke on each thigh and said, "We don't miss a single spot. Spread your legs so I can spank you on the inside of your thighs." I gave a distressed mewl, buried my face in the crook of my arm, and spread my thighs as open as I could without falling off of his lap. The skin down there was excruciatingly tender. Officer Ryland worked quickly to spread the fire between my legs, and I bit my lip and fought hard to keep from crying out. Tears streamed down my cheeks as the punishing strokes of the paddle continued to fall between my thighs. Finally, the paddle slowed and then ceased altogether, leaving me with scorched skin and thoroughly bruised pride. I wiped my eyes as the officer helped me off of his knee. The skin was too tender to rub. I merely shifted from foot to foot, trying to minimize the discomfort. Wasn't really helping. "Now, what will we never do again?" he asked gently, trying to find my eyes. "Run away from school," I whispered, my voice catching, and hiccuped. "That's right. Good girl." I eased my feet into my Mary Janes and stooped to pick up my tights. "Aiden, you can come out of there now," said the officer. When Aiden's jeans had resumed their rightful place, and I tugged my skirt over my diaper and crimson thighs, Officer Ryland led us down the long hallway and into the lobby with the desk and the blonde constable. There were two men sitting in the wire chairs that were positioned across from the desk. As we entered the room, both of them stood simultaneously and folded their arms. Their expressions clearly read, "I am not impressed." "Hi, Daddy," Aiden and I said. We toddled over to our respective daddies. Mine was fixing me with a look that filled my stomach with dread and made my cheeks blush bright enough to match my thighs. I looked up at him with wide, legitimately remorseful eyes. "I was just trying to find you," I said, and his expression changed to one of moderate exasperation. "Oh, baby," he said, and put his arms around me, holding me close. "Let's talk about this at home." So yeah, there you have it. I'll probably write a new one using the same characters soon because I like these characters, and I hope you do as well. And I hope you enjoyed hearing me talk to you for a very long time. So have a nice week, and I'll see you when I do a new video.